Sio Nagad, hello all, Osh afternoon, good afternoon, and Wado, thank you for watching. Today's day 21, Transformation of America, the true life story of a CIA mind control slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips, and we are into chapter 4, The Most Dangerous Game, continuing that on of Kathy's section. During Christmas vacation of 1974, my father flew us all to Disney World by route of Tampa, Florida. Ignorant of geography, it did not occur to me that Tampa was out of the way to Disney World until my father drove the rented van to the gates of MacDill, M-A-C-D-I-L-L, Air Force Base. Military personnel met me there and escorted me into the base top-secret high-tech mind control conditioning facility for behavioral modification programming. This was the first in what became a routine series of mind control testing and or programming sessions on government installations that I would endure throughout my Project Monarch victimization. Whether I was in a military, NASA, or government building, the procedure for maintaining me under total mind control remained consistent with Project Monarch requirements. This included prior physical and or psychological trauma, sleep, food, and water deprivation, high voltage electric shock, and hypnotic and or harmonic programming of specific memory compartments' personalities. The high-tech equipment and mechanisms I endured from that time on gave the U.S. government absolute control of my mind and life. I had been literally driven out of my conscious mind and existed only through my programmed subconscious. I lost my free will ability to reason and could not think to question anything that was happening to me. I could only do as I was told. After the MacDill Air Force Base experience, my home life worsened. The controls and conditioning that my father and mother executed on me tightened even more. I was no longer permitted to have any contact with my own brothers and sister. I only had one younger sister at the time. This stopped me in my subconscious effort to protect them from my father's abuse and left me with a desperate, empty aching for the loving relationships I previously shared with them. Of course, I never was able to protect them any more than I could defend myself or later protect my own daughter. However, until government programming began, I had routinely babysat them every evening and took them for long walks that lasted for hours in my feeble attempt to keep them out of my parents' range. Subconsciously, I believed I was making a difference. The day my youngest brother told my mother he much preferred my company over hers was the day I could no longer be near him or my other brothers and sister. Apparently, I was making enough of a difference that my parents were compelled to separate me from them. I was ordered to my closet-sized bedroom in the garage as soon as I got home from school or work. I could not speak to, look at, or hug my brothers and sister. I was not permitted to eat dinner with my family, although they let me out of my room to set the table, wash dishes, and do other chores. If I ventured from my bedroom to use the bathroom and was caught by my mother, she said, "Nobody rattled your cage," and ordered me back to my room in the garage. In the summer of 1975, my family drove all the way from Michigan to the Teton Mountains of Wyoming. I was ordered to ride the back storage area of the family's Chevy Suburban since I was forbidden to associate or communicate with my brothers and sister. So I dissociated into books or into the metaphorical hypnotic suggestions from my father, entranced deeper as I watched the prairie's seemingly endless sea of amber waves of grain streak past my window. Once we stopped at a gas station, my father took me inside to show me a stuffed jackalope mounted on the wall. Due to my trans-dissociative state and high suggestibility level, I believed it was indeed a cross between a jackrabbit and an antelope. It was 100+ degrees in the Badlands, where it cooled down at night. The intense heat of the day accentuated my ever-increasing thirst. My father was physically preparing me through water deprivation for the intense tortures and programming I would endure in Wyoming. Dick Cheney, the White House Chief of Staff to President Ford, later Secretary of Defense to President Bush, documented member of the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, and presidential hopeful for 1996, was originally Wyoming's only congressman. Dick Cheney was the reason my family had traveled to Wyoming, where I endured yet another form of brutality. His version of a quote-unquote a most dangerous game, or human hunting. Human hunting. It is my understanding now that a most dangerous game was devised to condition military personnel in survival and combat maneuvers, yet it was used on me and other slaves known to me as a means of further conditioning the mind to the realization that there was no place to hide, as well as traumatize the victim for ensuing programming. It was my experience over the years that a most dangerous game had numerous variations on the primary theme of being stripped naked and turned loose in the wilderness while being hunted by men and dogs. In reality, all wilderness areas were enclosed in secure military fencing, whereby it was only a matter of time until I was caught, repeatedly raped, and tortured. Dick Cheney had an apparent addiction to the thrill of the sport. He appeared obsessed with playing the most dangerous game as a means of traumatizing mind control victims, as well as to satisfy his own perverse sexual kinks. My introduction to the game occurred upon arrival at the hunting lodge near Grable, Wyoming, and it physically and psychologically devastated me. I was sufficiently traumatized for Cheney's programming as I stood naked in his hunting lodge office after being hunted down and caught. Cheney was talking as he paced around me. I could stuff you and mount you like a jackalope and call you a two-legged deer. Or I could stuff you with this. He unzipped his pants to reveal his oversized member, right down your throat, and then mount you. Which do you prefer? Blood and sweat became mixed with dirt on my body and slid like mud down my legs and shoulder. I throbbed with exhaustion and pain as I stood unable to think to answer such a question. Make up your mind, Cheney coaxed. Unable to speak, I remained silent. You don't get a choice anyway. I make your mind up for you. That's why you're here. For me to make you a mind and make you mine/mind. You lost your mind a long time ago. Now I'm going to give you one, just like the Wizard of Oz gave Scarecrow a brain. The yellow brick road led you here to me. You've come such a long way for your brain, and I will give you one. The blood reached my shoes and caught my attention. Had I been further along in my programming, I perhaps would have noticed. I would never have noticed such a thing, or had the capability to think to wipe it away. But so far, I had only been to MacDill and Disney World for government and military programming. At last, when I could speak, I begged, if you don't mind, can I please use your bathroom? Cheney's face turned red with rage. He was on me in an instant, slamming my back into the wall with one arm across my chest and his hand on my throat, choking me while applying pressure to the carotid artery in my neck with his thumb. His eyes bulged as he spit, and he spit as he growled. If you don't mind me, I will kill you. I could kill you with my bare hands. You're not the first and you won't be the last. I'll kill you anytime I goddamn well please. He flung me on the cot-type bed what is that, a typo? He flung me on the cot-type bed that as behind me. Probably is behind me, or was maybe behind me. There he finished taking his rage out on me sexually. On a long trip back to Michigan, I lay in a heap behind the seats of the Suburban, nauseated and hurting from Cheney's brutality and high-voltage tortures, plus the whole Wyoming experience. My father stopped by the waterfalls flowing through the Tetons to wash my brain of the memory of Cheney. I could barely walk through the woods to the falls for the process as instructed, despite having learned my lessons well from Cheney on following orders. The next year, when our annual trip to Disney rolled around, my father drove pulling his new holiday Rambler Royale International trailer. I slept outside in a tent because I was not permitted inside it since I wasn't family. My father dropped me off en route at the Kennedy Space Center in Titusville, Florida, where I was subjected to my first NASA programming. From then on, I was obsessed with following the yellow brick road to Nashville, Tennessee. Moving to Nashville was all I could talk about. If anyone asked me the question, I could not think to ask myself why. I would respond by reiterating it was something I had to do. I had gone through the motions of my senior year in a dissociative trance. I became further distanced from religious values by my religion class teacher, Brother Emmett, E-M-M-E-T-T. This was due to his promotion of cannibalism via Pierre Paul Reed's book, Alive, and by his teachings at Religious Corseal, C-O-R-S-E-A-L, retreat I attended that included occult ritual at St. Francis Church. I graduated from Muskegon Catholic Central High School in our bicentennial year of 1976. I was led by Senator Byrd to revise my plan to attend Hope College like I had promised Vanderjack as a child. This new plan was for me to temporarily attend Muskegon Community College because my real education was to come through mind control programming, not school, and in order to be exhausted as well as was necessary, good grief, for my real education. I worked 3 menial jobs in addition to attending college. During my first semester of college in 1976, I made plans to take a trip to Nashville with my Project Monarch friend from Catholic Central. She remains an expendable victim to date, and therefore her identity must be protected from public release for her safety. My father explained that I was to stay at the Fiddler's Inn in Nashville, see the world-famous Printers Alley row of sleazy country music nightclubs, and attend the Grand Ole Opry on Friday night, as ticket arrangements had been made through a friend, in spite of their scarcity during the Thanksgiving holiday. All right, we'll leave it at that. Don't go home, until we meet again. Love you, mean it.